Good afternoon, and welcome to Man Cave Meditations. It's a beautiful day here. Spring has finally arrived, it seems, even though we're about a month in. She seemed to finally coming around to waking up in full swing. Yeah, where I grew up, there, about 300 miles north of where I am now, in New England, there wasn't really a fall or a spring, You get glimpses of it. Fall, yeah, but it was like fall was cold. There wouldn't be like warm fall days like you have where I am. And spring was like, April would rain, May was kind of here or there. You can get it, and then all of a sudden June started getting hot. And the summers were hot. They were. It was like the extremes were longer, but as you move away from the center, anyway, whatever. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. I'm not a weatherman. For sure, I'm not a weatherman. But that having been said, looking at what's again, it just I don't want it to, but it seems to keep coming back to Chuck Schumer. Not because people are talking about him, but just because it's just more and more apparent as the times become more dire, and and people are waking up more. Americans are waking up. They're waking up, and they're demanding more of their leaders in this time. They know that the time is this is not normal. This is not normal. They may not know what's going on yet, but they know it's not normal. Anyone who doesn't fully have their head up his or her own ass, like you just have at least an inkling, like this is not right. This can't be right. This is not right. This isn't the way things should be. That's at the base level. Unless you're like fully indoctrinated by Fox, or you just haven't, left your home in a couple of years. Like, yeah, if you're semi-conscious, you know that something's not well. And because of that shift in individual and collective understanding, just of the awareness rather of the situation as it is unfolding now, in day after day, it's like hour after hour, it seems, not just day after day. It's intensifying. So anyone who has this idea, this feeling that things are shifting, they know that what is, like the old car is going to have the engine that it can handle. You can't put like a V8 regular V8 engine in it, and that's what Chuck Schumer is. He's like the '57 Chevy. I did a past video, I forget which one, but he's like the '57 Chevy that's in a race with just modern cars. And there's nothing wrong with the '57 Chevy. It's a nice cruise car, I guess you could soup it up, and everything, like it could go fast, but it's not gonna perform like a modern car. Okay? And he's fine driving the car. He just has no idea what's going on around him. None. No idea. That people are driving by him, get off the road, you old son of a bitch. No, he has no idea. He can't. He's talking to himself, or whoever's with him, putting the radio on, rolling the window down, He's oblivious. A good driver knows the rules of the road, but is oblivious to the situation as it is, for what it requires. And this isn't just my idea. This is observation. This is not judgment. This is observation. You have someone who obviously I could see how you could perhaps argue a couple months ago that maybe, oh no, you're being hyperbolic. He doesn't have autocratic intentions. But at this point, April, what is it, 28, late April 2025? If you don't think that the President of the United States, current President of the United States of America, if you don't think that he has serious autocratic intention of turning this country into like a Turkmenistan, North Korea, Russia, China, whatever, then either you haven't left your house in a couple of years and you have no, access to internet. You're not able to read yet because you're not old enough, or you just never chose to. Ignorance is bliss. Or your head is so far up your ass that you can't see what's right in front of your face. And unfortunately, that's not just a few percent. That's like several dozen percent of our collective. Right. But they are not the majority. God bless. They're not the majority. So, again, the times are requiring something different. I was going to do other topics, but I might just talk about this. What did he do recently? And it's by his own actions. That's why I mean it's observational. It's through his own actions that this is being shown. This character is being shown. I mean, again, you have a potential autocrat, right? And I see him on a CNN interview the other day with Dana Bash. And I'm not going to get exactly, but she asked him in so many words, like, well, what are we doing about it? Because he was basically just rattling off, like I would right now, just rattling off, like, what they're doing and how it's bad. Yeah, no shit, it's bad. No shit, it's bad. That's just like me rattling it off, saying this, yeah, they shouldn't be doing this, they shouldn't be doing that, they shouldn't be doing this. Right? You know what that sounds like to me? That sounds like the person who's in a group that's been named the leader and has acted like the leader, but when something actually goes wrong, they stand and try to be another member of the group because they're incapable of stepping up. And they just talk about everything like they're another member of the group. This is what's wrong. That's what's wrong. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No fucking shit. Those things are wrong. But here's the deal. You're in your position so you can do something about it. And if you can't, then you need to step down. The time demands it. But you're too either blind, arrogant, or a mixture of both to see. Your head's so far up your ass. And honestly, that letter that you said in that interview, we sent a letter asking 8 pointed questions. Yeah? Well, yeah. It's like the movie Fish Called Wanda at the end of that. When Kevin Kline, do you remember that movie? Oh, great movie. Kevin Kline, again, gem of the movie. His character was standing in quicksand. And Ken was coming to kill him. And Ken was in a bulldozer. And Kevin Kline was like shooting at the bulldozer with the gun. And it ran him over. He was fine. Because that's what happened in the 80s. Everybody was fine. Everything was happy. And, how are you going to kill me, Ken? So, anyway, a little aside there. But Chuck Schumer with this letter, that's what it is. It's like, shooting at your legs are in cement. You're shooting with a BB gun at like a bulldozer as it's coming to squash you. It's like, going back, we're about to celebrate our country's 250th anniversary, so why not do a history lesson? How about the Battle of Breeds Hill, which is commonly known as Bunkers Hill, but the battle took place on Breeds Hill. Where you had, if a thousand, a little more than 1,000 Americans, rebels, Continentals at that point, stood off against, some of the mightiest of the British Army they could muster. What do you think they would have done if they, someone suggested, hey, why don't you just send General Howe a letter in the harbor? They send him a letter. See what he says. This is why we're not happy. Or should we not fire until we see the whites of their eyes? Which is what happened. Well, moving forward 80 years, Civil War. We had Battle of Gettysburg. The defense of Little Round Top under the leadership of Colonel Joshua Chamberlain. Colonel at the time, ended up becoming Brigadier General. But he, that was the flank. It was the flank of the Union line. And a regiment that used to be 1,000 strong was less than 300 strong. And they held that position till the last bullet. And when he had no more bullets, he ordered a bayonet charge. Routed the rebels. Do you think he thought about sending a letter to General Hood or, about, seeing if they wanted to give up instead of coming facing him and his ragtag regiment? No. Bayonet charge. How about the soldiers on Omaha that stormed Omaha Beach 80 years after that? D-Day, June 6th, 1944. Forgive me if I get that wrong. But what if the soldiers, when they're on the battleships, waiting to the destroyers, waiting to board their ships and go storm this beach, which they know has been prepared by General Rommel for years. Some of those, at that point, the most, formidable defenses known to humankind. What if they sent him a letter? Ask him to stop. Right? Can you please stop so we can just come aboard the beach? Open up an Eastern Front against you? Is that okay? Could you please answer these 8 pointed questions that we have? He does not have the awareness. So come to the current time. He does. I'm not going to bash the man. But at this point, I'm getting close, because he obviously he thinks much more highly of himself than and his abilities than they currently are, and make sure that he just doesn't. His arrogance is blinded him to the degree that he's incapable of just understanding that, he's like trying to wear an ice skate when climbing a mountain. It doesn't work. You're not the right fit. And if you can't figure that out, here's the deal. And again, it's coming from, so whatever it's worth, take it as it is. But if he can't figure that out for himself, times like this demand, right? Which is, this time is by far the most serious, if not in 80 years, then at least since the Civil War. Because at least in World War II, our country was never under any true existential threat. Right? I don't believe it. But it could have been. It was close. So call it the same thing as that too then. So 80 years. 80 years. 80 years. Put them all together. And if that's the case, and the leader of the opposition Senate, again, most powerful deliberative bodies in the world, the United States Senate, if the leader of that body does not, either have the awareness or the wherewithal to just simply understand that he is not the right fit for the moment, then it is then, based upon the direness of the moment, it is then the responsibility of the other opposition senators, doesn't have to be all of them, but it's got to be enough of them, to get together on behalf of their, not only the constituents, but the betterment of the American public as a whole. All of the American public, not just blue, it's red, it's everybody. Even the ones who don't know what's happening, and they're just confused, they're under the spell of the Wizard of Oz. Even them, it's for all of us. It is then your duty to however many of you, hopefully more than half, walk into his office and demand change. Demand a vote. So if he is not able to do it, which it increasingly seems that he is not able to, doesn't want to, again, I said in one of my videos, after the country's been overthrown, he'll show up at the Senate in a suit, you know, looking to go about his day. Really? You're not going to stand up to that? Come on. Come on. So, I was going to talk about other things, and maybe I'll make another video after this, but I feel like, I'll end it with this, I feel like the everything that's going on, any Lord of the Rings geeks out there, I've got a couple of swords in my cave here. If you remember in the Return of the King, when you had the sick king Denethor, the sick steward Denethor, and the Minas Tirith, which was once this great glorious city, but had fallen into decay, and the leader was a madman, right? And they did their best to and he had just he had lost his mind, and they were waiting for the return of the king, and the armies of Mordor just showed up. Sauron just unleashed the whole thing, opened up the gates, and they probably used 100,000 however many it was. It was a lot more than were in the city, and the city just started to fall into despair. And that was when Gandalf rallied them up, because Denethor gave the order to flee for your lives, all is lost. And Gandalf punched him down and said, no, to your post, let's go. And they fought and they fought, and they started to come into the city. And then when all hope seemed to be lost, that's when you had the sun shining on the side with the Rohirrim, King Theoden, and the however many 6,000 spears of Rohan, and they just called forth their charge, and they just swept through that darkness. Well, besides bringing you through some Lord of the Rings lore, I truly feel I was thinking about this current situation, and I feel that I was thinking of that scene and realizing that the Rohirrim, they're the American people. They're the American people that are going to sweep through this darkness. Our individual and collective will to say, you know what, this doesn't fly. And with that, I will leave you in peace. Lots of love, and God bless. Thank you.